What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home? Well, Robert Jeffries and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse, a Sliders recap with Rain Coleman and Robert Jeffries II. What's up, motherfucker? Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Stumbling Through the Multiverse. It is me, the great and powerful Oz. Pay no attention to that black man in that cave over there. I am Rain Coleman, the Carefree Black Nerd. Happy to be one half of this operation, Stumbling Through the Multiverse, the Carefree Black Nerd review over none other than the infamous, underrated sliders of the 90s. And I have with me today the brainchild behind this thing, Robert. What's up?
Yeah, Robert Elderly Jeffrey, right? Robert Elderly Jeffrey, according to this crazy world. You know, but the funny thing is, considering the stuff that I've heard from like people younger than us, at least some people younger than us, this not too far off the mark with kind of how we're being seen.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
Children.
So, but the second half of this esteemed duo, recapping an often overlooked sci-fi classic. So,
yes. Oh Lord, none other than Sliders. And if this is your first episode, where the hell you been? Go ahead and check out. We're on episode 11 of season 2. This is The Young and the Relentless. Now, I'll say I took this a whole nother way. Listeners, I don't read the synopsis before I watch the episode. This is brand new to me, and I like to be surprised going cold. I'll read the synopsis, and then I'll get into why I thought this was something totally different. In this episode, the Sliders land on a world where society is ruled by the young. I thought this was a play on The Young and the Restless. I thought this was about to be this over-the-top, dramatic, campy love story world where it's like, yeah, y'all being real extra. That is not what this was. I was like, what the hell? So there's my disappointment.
I mean, this is what did I say? This is when I told there was a time where young Robert was watching sci-fi and just loving everything. But then he had to grow up and understand that everything that has the label of sci-fi isn't necessarily good. And this was one of those episodes where I think teenage Robert back in middle school, maybe starting high school, looked at it and said, yeah, everything that isn't that sci-fi isn't great. Because I don't like this episode.
Oh,
yeah, I don't. Like, and we'll get into it. And we always say this might be one of those things where we talk it out and my rating goes up. But you know, when I saw the opening, the Nirvana baby-esque. The opening, kids, do your homework. I was like, is this bullshit? So, you know, like I will, this is not one of my favorites. And it's for a few reasons. And we'll get into one of the big ones, which I think that if they had headed in that direction, it would have been very good for me. So, but right now I'm kind of not feeling it as of now, but I mean, I love the experience of talking about it, but like I told my wife, I said, this was one that I remember, you know, being on the, you know, what were they doing here? I do appreciate the soap opera-esque-ness of it. But we'll get into it.
Well, yeah, it was okay. I'll put that because it wasn't my favorite. It was actually quite irritating, but I'll just say it was okay.
Gotcha. So you ready, man?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So we start off, like I said, with their Nirvana baby, the stand-in. In this case, Quinn is the one floating in the water. We think unconscious, right? So I'll just say that. He's with his eyes closed. So then we cut to the portal. The effect of the portal suggesting that the sliders are sliding, and they land on I call it Young World. So some Young World. The professor falls into a seat, falls into a lawn chair, which is hilarious. And then all the other sliders hit the ground, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't hit the ground." So, the joke we always get, this running joke, running gag, and it works. So I like the humor in that part. So, as they notice that they've landed in the backyard of a pretty nice looking mansion, and I think it's either Remy or Wade says, "Let's leave before somebody sees us." And as they're walking away, Quinn looks off into there's a pool. It's like a indoor pool, and he looks in and sees that somebody's floating in the water. So he wants to go and help. Is what it is. This has become like just kind of a running thing for him, not a running gag, but this is it. This is who he is, right? So Quinn jumps into the water. While I noticed that the professor was, kind of getting ready to help him out, and Remy and professor helped to pull this guy out of the water. And then lo and behold, it turns out to be Quinn's double. So the professor starts trying to do CPR. Remy runs to the house to see if there's somebody there to let them know that, they got an unconscious person and who almost looks like he drowned. And then before he gets back, the professor says that there's nothing he can do. He was long dead. So, that was it. So Remy walks up with this world's Wade. So for this point, I'm just going to say Wade double.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have a different take on her name like this world's Quinn does. So that actually made it easier for me, because I was writing these notes. I kept writing double Quinn and double Wade. And then when they kept calling him QR, I was like, thank God. So double Wade is pulls up, and she has a bad wig on just to show that she is this world's Wade. And it's funny because like she's reacting to the body, which is understandable. And what I got was like she wasn't really reacting to Wade or Quinn, but maybe I just kind of missed that. But either way, there's this big thing that they've slid to the home of their doubles, QR and double Wade, and that's where we have our first break. So this let's go through this. Let's roll through this. The opening. What were your thoughts?
I don't think they should have shown QR. They should have shown Quinn initially. We should have just saw a body.
Yeah.
All things considered, I think this opening was pretty solid, but I think it would have been better if the audience and the cast learned about Quinn's double together. Because if you just see a body like, oh, there's about to be a murder, some shit's gonna happen. I also kind of wish they had have opened up showing everyone going through the slide except for Quinn, if they were going to show Quinn's face, just to kind of delay, like, oh shit, he landed in the water, he dead. I did like this opening. I do like the little gag of the professor getting into a seat, perfectly fine. What I don't like Quinn. I don't like Quinn. Now, as a character, sure, he's great. I'll say this. This is a compliment of this episode. I think it's called the blocking that they did because you are using two of the same person twice, I thought was done really well throughout the whole episode. Especially this moment where they pull him out, Remy's back and arm is hiding the face, then they flip him over, which is clearly shot after the fact, and Quinn's response, like, it's done really well. So kudos to them in the 90s getting that so well. I didn't particularly care for this because Quinn is always jumping into something, and I'm just in my mind. I know you're bringing your morals from your world, but it just felt like you just want to be the main character. Like clearly he is, but it's like you.
Yeah.
In this instance, is a little shaky to say because the dude was like is dead. So it's like, yeah, I mean, whatever world we're in, I'm sure people drowning is not a great part of this world. So I get that, but every fucking episode you drag us into some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me was like, the shock, great, like I'm with it all. I was kind of. This is a me thing. When Rembrandt went to the house and started hollering and screaming, I was like, you're a black man with these 3 white folks and this dead white man in this pool of a house that's probably some wealthy white people. Maybe you aren't the one who need to be running up to this door. Wade was right. Well, not even that. Professor, he can move. We done seen this man tumble, climb buildings, leap tall buildings, and the single bound. But I was just like, maybe this is a me thing. But all in all, the opening, I'm not mad at it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think, like I said, outside of the weird in beginning with him floating, I think everything else worked. So as far as to kind of draw you in, and this is strangely enough, we've been asking for a Wade double episode, and we got it. So thank you for listening to us, sliders, gods. So we cut to back to the mansion. They actually showed the skyline of San Francisco. So we're in the mansion. I actually say douche Wade. Douche Wade is on the phone. So I'll just say that instead of double Wade. But douche Wade is on the phone talking with Gillette, the best a man can get. The weirdest fucking name. But Gillette, the guy's name is Gillette. It's about Quinn's death, and she's she's kind of arguing, but she's obviously distraught, upset, saying she has to call the police. She's kind of worried about that. She's worried about the press because apparently Quinn and she are very prominent in this world. We'll learn why. And the other sliders are in the background. So Remy is walking through the QR. His name, Quinn of this world, is in QR, walking through his office. And he sees that Quinn and QR and Douche Wade were an item on this world. They were married, and all this good stuff. The professor thinks and I actually like this because the professor says if they had just gotten there half an hour earlier, then he could have saved this world's Quinn. And, so you got to think that this is affecting them in a way. They actually see the death of, at this point, somebody that they love, love and respect. So one other thing is they start lore or world building, looking at magazines in the office. One of the magazines shows a presidential candidate, and the guy looks like he's in his early 20s. I think the professor makes a joke about it. And Quinn and Wade are, Douche Wade has apparently accepted that they are sliders. The professor explains, this is it. He says something that suggests that they had a conversation, in the gutters. And she's accepted the idea of the parallel worlds, but she keeps looking at Quinn, just in awe, because he looks the same. But she says that she confirms that they were married. So the next scene is we see Quinn and Wade getting dressed, and because Quinn is wet because he jumped into the pool, and I guess Wade is, so she got some new clothes or whatever, but they're wearing the clothes of their double so you can dry off. And Wade is interested in her double of this world. She worries. She also says that even though she and Quinn she's in my mind. She said something like, even though we friends, for life. But she says, even though they're not together, which was weird, she says, I still would be worried if something happened to you. So Mr. Gillette shows up, and I'm assuming like he's their kind of assistant handyman. He just gets the job done, but he Douche Wade introduces him and says he'll be able to kind of help them out. He takes her clothes. That's what it is. He takes her clothes, and then he also takes the sliding device as he when he shows up. So now they don't have the sliding device. So we get the conflict of the episode. So Douche Wade explains by this point it is Wade and Quinn and the other two guys, explains that actually that's before this one. So, anyways, but she explains that QR was going to release a computer program that was going to revitalize the broken education system of either California or of the world. In parentheses, I have what. Apparently, computer software would replace a broken school system. We don't get too much more about it outside of that. Is what it is. And so Douche Wade is afraid that if people find out that QR is dead, that it's going to harm the release of this like revolutionary software. I think in my notes I said, "Motherfucker, what? You got a corpse in your house? Fuck the money. You could go to jail, right?" So, so her big thing, her big idea at that point is for Quinn to step in for. They're going to do I was going to say Weekend and Bernie. So Weekend and Bernie. It actually does. It's not the same. So he said, "Let's step in for QR." And so that the deal can go through and that the education system will be revolutionized. This is part of the reason why I don't like this episode, because I don't care about this. I'm sorry. So it's dumb. This gets back into the corporate shenanigans side of things about some of these episodes, where I just lost my interest, at least in the plot A. So Rembrandt and the professor are saying, why would you do this? This is dumb. You can get caught, whatever. They're concerned. And even Wade says, hey, don't look at me. And, Quinn is like, at this point, he's like smiling and saying, he's like, man, look at this crazy outfit. I'm playing myself. This is great. And I'm like, but this dude is dead. And you're like smiling and thinking this is a game. And the next question that I have is like, where's the body? So he goes to, so one of the things that the professor, Remy says is like, well, we'll be there as moral support. And so Douche Wade looks at Remy and the professor and says, well, the thing is, she explains that anybody over the age of 30 are seen as second-class citizens. She says, some of my, house workers and my landscapers and this and that, they, those are the only 30-year-olds, 30 and above year olds that you see. So, basically them coming to the party would be weird. And she says, some of my best friends are over the age of 30. Okay. No, but she
pretty much.
Yeah. So, the professor says something to the effect of like, we've just been told we're second-class citizens, and, to kind of calm the situation down, Quinn says, Professor Remy, why don't you guys go into the city, check out the city, head to the hotel. So that's that. And then we see the next scene. They actually go to the party, Quinn and Douche Wade, and start talking to people. And Douche Wade is always there to help support him and answer any questions, or to give him like information that he might need. But and I think one of the first people they see is this guy named Kyle. So let me stop there because that was a lot. Any thoughts about kind of where we're at now?
Yeah, tons. So this may be me, but did they give a time at all? Did they say, hey, we're here for a day and a half? I know eventually we discussed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, this feels wrong. This feels like a lie. Because why don't you, which it burns me up because you started off doing this. And also you're writing the show. You can just go back to page 1 and say, oh, they were here for 3 days. And just say, oh, we're going to be here for 3 days. Like that blows me. Because that's kind of the premise of the show. You're sliding to a world for a certain amount of time. But whatever. That's a me thing. I don't understand why this group is so dumb. Forget the dead body that's just hanging out. Why are we not keeping track of this damn timer? How many episodes? So we're on episode 11 of season 2. Season 1 had what, 10 episodes, I think? 9?
Yeah, like 9 or 10. 9 or 10.
So we've gone to 21. I think one part was a 2-part. So let's say we've gone to 19 worlds. You've had that timer stolen 13 times. Like, why are we not holding on to that? Like, and I even get explaining the concept of sliding to her, but why did you have to say we slide with this device?
They didn't have to say shit. They didn't
just be like, this watch that I have. It's just what controls the sliding. Like you, all these pockets, and nobody just put the slide. That pissed me off really kind of more than anything, that you keep getting this damn device stolen because you keep running your fucking mouth. Jesus Christ. Also, what is this ChatGPT learning simulation that they had back in the 90s? Like, what do you mean? That part, go ahead.
No, when they said that shit was going to replace teachers, I was just like, you got to give me more than that. Like you, and that was that fake ass social commentary about the state of education seemed like an afterthought when it should have been like at the forefront. So that's just my 2 cents. Sorry.
Especially because you have Arturo, who's a professor, Quinn, who because of his knowledge with science got us here, Wade, who is a tech genius essentially, and Rembrandt, he ain't got a whole lot going on, but he's been with them enough and he's street smart enough that this would be important. Like that could have been the entire driving force of the episode. And it's like, whatever. That I just felt like out of the whole episode, that's the thing that there was like, oh, we need some MacGuffin here. Let's just say education. And let's come up with 2 PowerPoint slides for like later in the episode. Like nothing else. And I think that makes this episode so weak for me because everything is built off of that thing that they clearly did not define at first. Okay. So also, Quinn is dumb because where's my mom? My dead virgin's mom. That's the first thing I'm thinking. Like, okay, I can be me, but where's his mom? Is she dead? Does she know this boy is dead? If I didn't show up, clearly y'all was gonna chop this body up or like call the police and say, oh, he drunk. Like, where's his mom? Like, that's weird to me. Wait, too. This was not intentional, but she came off very racist. So when they were like, we'll go whatever, it's like she was looking at Rembrandt and she was like, well, we don't, because at first I didn't even realize it was the age that was the problem. Is she? What are you trying to say here? It was so odd, and I think that may have been unintentional. It just was like the way they were positioned in the scene and the direction she was looking. I was like, what are we talking about? And also the professor, we're treated as second-class citizens. Not to say that the black guy who's experienced racism in our world needs to be the front runner for that conversation. But I was like, what are we doing? Like, that's not. And also, Wade, you're 30. All of y'all look old. Like, let's get out of here. So they could have bumped the age up to 35 because Rembrandt ain't nobody's 35, but he's definitely, like, you talk about 30. Quinn is 30. Quinn is 33. Like, let's be real. There was something about. The whole education and age thing is weird to me. That was weird. And I just got to keep going back to why the hell ain't that timer handcuffed to one of y'all?
They what was the thing? When that dude just casually picked it up, and just walked out with their wet clothes, and he just like, I was like, okay, this is where it's going, because it is one of those things where even though I remember like my general vibe about kind of how I felt about this episode, there were specific things that I forgot, and I definitely forgot about him just kind of walking in casually and just picking that shit up. So that was like, it kind of blew my mind. The thing with, and I'll just go ahead and say this here because we're going to get into this. The age discrimination thing, I felt that's the plot B, right? Because that involves Professor Remy. That should have been plot A. That should have been like just the discrimination, that aspect of things, I felt should have been the main kind of impetus of the episode and how they're dealing with that. Because all of these like corporate crime shenanigans or whatever, it kept taking me out. And especially to your point with the, I'm going to say edutainment, but it was like edu-learning or whatever the fake ass name it was, that wasn't strong enough to drive the story about like the corporate intrigue that led to murder and, cheating and all of that. And I I just felt like if you wanted to go with the social commentary thing, the age thing would have been better. I felt myself like more invested in the professor and Rembrandt than this what we got, with the rest of it.
And if I could jump in, they could have easily made it so that Quinn is actually 31 and he lied about his age, and she killed him because if they find out he's over 30, nobody will take that. Like that, you could have like that could have been a solid B plot to bring the education and the age, like, because I can see that in this world I can see somebody. How do you say it for social media? Committing or ending themselves because they're now aged out of access in this particular world. And so somebody found out Quinn's over 30. Oh, he killed himself. Well,
but you know who that happens to, right? Happens to a scientist that we don't know what the fuck about. Like, that was the other thing. They kept adding all these smaller stories in here, and so we get that. We get that with the suggestion of, them murdering somebody because he, and then the suggestion of like, well, he was about to age out at the age of 30. And that was the thing that was more interesting, is that when you turn 30, you basically are just like fucked for the rest of your life. Like that holds more weight to me than anything else that we got with this. So that's my biggest thing. So we go back to the Dominion Hotel. The news is showing like, and this is where we get kind of the lore dump. The Remy and Professor are watching the news. Let's say everybody who's over 30, they're protesting, for equal rights. And what the professor finds out from, it looks like reading the almanac or just like a history book about this country, is apparently they said the young people just got fed up with how things are going. We had, the countries are always on the verge of nuclear war, knock on wood. It's right. The environment was being more effed up, knock on wood again. and so apparently the final straw was when Social Security was about to bankrupt America. So they decided to, Howard Stern, of all people, who even at the time of this airing was nowhere near 30. I'm sorry, like but he's the radical, whatever talk show host. He ran against Jimmy Carter, which maybe he was 30 back in the 80s, whatever. 1980, that's when everything changed. Howard Stern lowers the voting age to 9 years old. Which so is just like so your shelf life is like from 9 until 30. So anyways, so that at that point, and workers are forced to retire when they turn 30, right? So, and at that point, because they don't have Social Security, and you can't only save up so much more money, because like how many years is between 9 and 30, right? So anyways, I'm nitpicking at this point, but that's the world that they live in. Anybody over the age of 30 is seen as elderly, and they're treated like second-class citizens. Remy and Professor are like we collectively are in our world. They're like, fuck it all, let's go get a drink because this world is going to hell. And so when they go to the bar, for the first time in his life, the professor experiences racism, or he experiences some type of ism, because they show a sign that basically says, get your old ass out because we don't serve y'all. And then the bartender says something disrespectful. Remy is just like, I've seen this shit before. I've dealt with it. Hey, professor, this is the first time in your life, right? I mean, you were talking about feeling like how we used to march on Selma when that bullshit. He said in that one episode, the bartender comes around with a bat. I mean, this shit escalates pretty fast. And then and swings on the professor. Professor, once again, grabs the bat and then hits this guy in the knee. And then Remy just started knocking a guy who's wearing like a tube top or something. He just like, what the fuck on this guy? And I was just like, where did he come from? And so they just kicking ass and then they run away, right? And so the bartender's just like, let's call for the cops. So this is all happens in one scene.
Yes.
So we go back to the mansion where the party is happening. And all the young people, because apparently young douchey people wear futuristic weird ass clothing, right? So I was like, what? Anyway, so I guess it's the trendy stuff. They all look like douches.
Mm-hmm.
This lady who works with Quinn walks up to him and suggests that they were going to tell Douche Wade that they were having an affair, and then Quinn is just like, oh, and then she's like, I'm leaving, and he's like, okay, and so another executive who I don't think he's as douchey. I never got his name, I forgot, but he talks to Quinn about apparently EduLearn. He feels it's a scam and that it will put elderly teachers out of business. And he wants QR to take his name off of it. And then Wade, Douche Wade comes over, kind of rescues Quinn or whatever, or talks to him and says, don't listen to, let's call him Chad or whatever. Like, don't listen to Chad. Chad is like, I don't think he's the asshole for this episode.
Right.
He's actually the good executive. So Quinn goes upstairs and he finds his way looking through the medicine cabinet to learn more about the couple. And Quinn feels that explains that he feels that his QR and Douche Wade were douches. So he's kind of able to kind of glean this from like talking to these people. One person I forgot to mention before was this guy named Kyle. And we'll get to Kyle in a second, but Kyle was one of the people that approached him at the beginning of the party. So we get to the end of the party. It is revealed that now that Kyle knows that Quinn was playing a role and he's not actually QR, and Double Wade was like, well, I couldn't not tell him. And it's like, okay, whatever. And so Double Wade kisses him. I think this is like the first time of many that she kisses him.
Oh,
and then Wade tells Quinn, like, okay, now it's time to go. And so Kyle proposes, he says, like, okay, so now let me tell you about this important meeting we have with the state governor, because we need to lobby the governor about edutainment, EduLearn or whatever. And, Quinn and Wade are just like, this sounds like a pyramid fucking scheme. We got to bounce, right? But then Kyle says, well, guess what? We stole your timer. And then, like, is Gillette there? Is Gillette shows up? Yeah, Gillette shows up. And is he holding the timer?
He does, and he kind of walks away.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this part. So anyway, and Wade tells them time to go. Reveal they have the timer, and Kyle says, well, if you don't do what what we're asking or demanding you do, then you might wind up in the pool just like QR. And then Douche Wade says, I didn't know about this. And so that the commercial, but in my notes it said they should have whooped his ass. They should have whooped, because Kyle does not look imposing. Kyle looks like somebody's child, and they should have picked him up and threw him into the elderly Gillette and got this. It's like none of these people look threatening to me. So that you can talk about everything up until this point. The ass whooping that the old people did, Professor Rembrandt, up to this like big reveal.
Well, first I'll work backwards. What I shouted out of my mouth while at work watching this scene was, kill him.
Yes.
I was like, Quinn is like 6'7". Right. Kyle is 2'1" with a shirt that Theo wore before. Like, I was like, why are you not killing him? These are children. These are literal children. And I was like, maybe this is the American in me. Maybe I need to relax. No, murder him. Like, I don't understand why. Whatever. So one thing I want to know is, what I do love about the Sliders is that they're just like the X-Men. These motherfuckers is gonna fight. They don't care. They are going to fight. Now, this was warranted. I mean, every time kind of they've been warranted. Yeah. But this time in particular, the professor experiencing this racism adjacent discrimination.
Yeah, like,
what's the funniest shit in the world to me? Excuse me, my good man. So there's no other bars? This is what I mean. Like, they go through and they learn about these worlds and they figure out what's what. But you never, like, this is one of those times where you should have just shut the hell up and, like, really figure out What's what? Because now this makes me even look back on Rembrandt running to that front door in a different light. Yeah, he's the only black one in the race. Okay, put that aside, but he's also over 30.
Yeah.
He could have been arrested. Like, there's so
Right.
many things that's going through my mind. But also, I know we're just getting a like 30-something minute episode, but this to me is just like the weaker sex. When you have explained to me that you've dropped the age of voting to 9, now you're opening a can of worms that I need to know how that impacts the rest of the world.
Exactly.
What's the gambling age?
Exactly.
What's the smoking age? What's the drinking age? Also consent, not we know where that go, but also consent in the sense that, like, are people getting married? They're clearly having relationships.
Yeah.
And then what is if I'm 9 years old and I can vote and my father and mother are 33, am I now the breadwinner in the house? Also, my prefrontal cortex has not developed yet. So what are we like? There was so many. I thought it was an interesting idea, but this is one of those ideas that you have to like
do a little bit more work.
Yeah, like even. And I was just like, 9 years old? They could have said like 16. Once you get a driver's license, you can vote. And we're like, not. That's 4th grade. Let's be fucking real. You mean to tell me that young people are so stupid that we are going to fight for our rights and then be like, yeah, my kid brother, who I can't trust to wash the dishes for fear of cutting himself, is going to then vote for Bruce from down the street to be president. This was so weird. And I was like, what made me mad is that they didn't play it up. They played it straight, like this is a serious thing, as opposed to campy, silly. Like there was, I was like, this is weird. This is also that boy just like picking up that bat to beat the professor. I was like, I get being. How do I put this? Do you remember that show where it was like these 2 white men made it for HBO where like black people and white people switched historical context where like black people enslaved white people? And we were like, this is fiction. You can do what you want, but that's not how this would go. And I was like, how is it even in this instance where you have now gained the upper hand, you have these children beating old people?
Right.
That makes no sense.
It's like the Crash movie level of writing.
Oh my God! Don't bring that shit
like,
up.
Like it's very simplistic. Like you remember that was my issue with the weaker sex. Like to suggest that all the women would now be assholes, like, and that was the thing. So like one of the things that this show needs to be updated. Like, if you want to talk about a reboot, because you would have people who would like dig a little bit deeper. I think you could still get a really good adventure story, sci-fi adventure, but they would answer these questions, right?
Yes.
Because like I said, just the whole, like you said, the whole role reversal of like, well, the black people are in power and the white people, like there was so much shit that happened that that wouldn't be the balance or the trade-off, right? And so I think everything that you said about like even just with the voting age, there's so much shit that's wrapped up in that, so many questions that you can't just play this off. This eventually does become campy. And like, why are these people excessively upset with elderly people? I understand that people like generations before us fuck shit up, right?
Yeah,
but it's not to the point where I'm just like trying to beat heads of every boomer that I see. Like,
also, like my mom,
you're right? Like, I'm not whooping my parents'
friend, dad. Like, and then how are you blaming them? These are civilians. These aren't politicians.
They were right.
It's like. These are people who probably also you already established that there are older teachers in this world. So you're just beating up on Mrs. Miller? Like, what the heck? This shit was so weird. If this show don't do nothing else, they're gonna make sure Quinn is sexually attractive and wanted. Because I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're
Miss Blonde cheater girl. She never showed up again.
She was at the meeting. She was at that meeting. To the side.
in my head, I was like, why didn't you just combine her character with the lady who was like, you killed my husband? Because what is the point? There was no reason for this. There was no reason. And if you didn't even bring her in to be like, Wade was fed up with him cheating. That didn't that went nowhere. I was like, what the? And also, these people are children. Let's. What does cheating mean in this world? Are people getting married? Am I finding another 9-year-old over in the 4th grade and be like, girl, let's do this. Let's ride this out till we're 30. You know what I'm saying? Or like, oh, I meet a motherfucking, we're both 11. It's like, man, if we ain't married by 15, me and you, girl. It was so, I was like, y'all just want us to know that he's just attractive and
he's an asshole.
Pyro and just sexually desired and just, he's just the man. I don't give a fuck. Shit. Age of consent, gambling, drinking. Also, they could have just made the education thing Cutco. You could have just made it that. Let them sell knives. It would have been the same effect. Also, fuck Kyle. Kyle's a dickhead. And that's what I got.
Cutco. I was telling somebody, I almost got. It was Cutco, like the selling the cutlery. Man, they almost got me in college.
They got me. They got me for 1 week, and I was like, this isn't real.
Yeah, they got me for one day. I went there. No, when I went back to get my, I'm sorry, side tangent. When I went back to kids, beware pyramid schemes of people who come up to you and say, hey, you want to make some quick money? And if it's not selling crack, then it's Cutco. Yeah. So I went back to get my cutlery, and they said, you got to pay hundreds of dollars for this. And I was just like, you didn't tell me this in the first day. Man,
they had us all. It was me and like 2 guys and a girl. We were all freshmen in college. Yes. We was all like in somebody's truck. We could have got traffic. It was like, yeah, we're gonna go through this neighborhood. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean go through this neighborhood? No, I went home.
Man. Cutco, God, man. That's probably the most advertising that they've ever gotten. And legit. Okay, so avoid Cutco. So we go back to the episode. So Professor and Rembrandt apparently got arrested. And they're in a trendy looking court. I always say I like the locations where they film this stuff. The judge is, I said, young and tubular, and their court defender is also young, and apparently they've been charged with curfew violation and an assault charge, and the professor is just talking shit. He's just talking so much shit. I say he needs to calm the fuck down, and I need Remy to really talk him down, but Remy is a voice of reason, so they plead Remy says we got to be out of town, but within a couple of days we can't, because I think the mandatory or like the lower sentence is like 30 days, and so they go to the judge. The judge is kind of flirting with the defending attorney or the public defender, and she she explains kind of the case and asks if they can get off or whatever. He's about to say let's go ahead, and he says guilty by reason of senility. So I guess the senility is what sets the professor off even more. And the professor, once again, he says, Dennis the Menace and Debbie Gibson wannabe. I really like him cutting into them, but he's like very much pissed. And so the judge is the worst. And he says something like, and the acting for this episode actually kind of goes back and forth, because the judge says, I don't care what you say about me, Gramps, but you can't talk about this bodacious. He doesn't say bodacious, but it's some shit like that. And then so he says 30 days in lockup. So as they are being taken away by this guy who doesn't even look like he's wearing a uniform, it looks like a sweater vest or some shit. They're cuffed up, and then the Remy and Professor are arguing. Then the professor acts like he has a heart attack, and then the guy looks at him, he's concerned, and then they beat his ass and toss him onto the elevator, take his keys, and then they run away. And this is the most fun that I think they've had in like a bunch of slides. Like, like we whooping young people's asses and we're taking names. And this is what I was more interested in at this point. So, so they are that's what they do. They escape. So we go to the office, and Douche Wade reveals that there's because we need this plot hole, and we need this plot, and added to the story. Douche Wade reveals that there's a lady who was suing them because her husband was a scientist that worked for the company, and he apparently created the idea of edu whatever, and the official story is that the scientist creator killed himself, and that but the wife is accusing QR of having screwed him over for taking his idea, and the wife is trying to sue them. And I hate this already as I'm reading this off. So we go to this a meeting with Kyle, the guy whose name I can't remember, who's actually the good executive, and another guy who was at the party. And the guy at the party is talking about how they're going to use the edu whatever computer program as a marketing tool. They're not going to teach kids. They're going to market them like Coca-Cola, which they call Impact Cola, because that's so rad, right? And Quinn is, for his, to his credit, he's just like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, I thought y'all were trying to teach kids, instead of, or replace the teachers or improve the education system. And he tells them this is bad, and for whatever reason. And Douche Wade is like, yeah, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be so in their face. And she tries to spin it so that everybody won't look at Quinn as if he's going crazy. Whatever. So she says, can we have the room? And then Quinn, Douche Wade is like, what are you doing? And Quinn is just like, what is this all about? This is BS, and da 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 da. And she says something else, like, just got to play this role and whatever. Don't rock the boat. And then she does this. They have her keep doing this whole trying to seduce him thing. Douche Wade says also that they're going to have to push the meeting back with the governor. And then Quinn is just like, we're not going to be here that long, and I need the timer. And then she's just like, chill out or whatever. And then she kisses him, and they kiss. I hate this in my notes. And so then I think she gets a phone call, whatever. I was done with the scene. And so then the last thing I from this, at least in the office, is that Quinn calls Wade about the delay. And Wade says that Wade is essentially, Wade is under house arrest by Gillette, the best a man can get. And Wade is like, she feels that she's being watched, and she's like, Quinn, we got to get out of here. We got, so many days or whatever. And he's like, I'm working on it. So only because this kind of still mixes in with the office. We go to the streets. Remy he tried calling the, QR's house, but it's unlisted. And then the professor, he are pulled over by bike cops who are young. And then the professor is still talking shit. And then Remy is just like, let's, we're going. And basically because they say that they're breaking their curfew. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at. From the court to the rough and tumble elderly streets. What you thinking? What you got?
Adam X and skater guy from Clueless as the judge. What the fuck are we doing?
Is that him?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think he was too young. I think that guy is younger than him.
Okay.
My thing is, what are the requirements? And I know we're only going to get so much story, but it could have been so easy to say, I don't know, once you're 14, you get assigned a job based off of a SAT score. That was just like, there are some kids that are type A, there are some kids who are like, oh, let's just have fun. Kids are not just one or two things, just like adults aren't. What are we doing? This is where I was like, do they know what they're trying to do? Because the judge was like, yeah, man, we're going to go and have some reefer. And then the lawyer was like, listen, I know I'm 17, but you guys really fucked up. It was like two different shows between the actors. And then for me, and this is a me thing, I don't think homegirl Tiffany Amber Thiessen was devastated enough or annoyed enough that she was a public defender. When that comes back later, I'm like,
it doesn't make any sense.
But they didn't they weren't like, okay, look, I'm 17. I just need to get this case done. Like it was just like, hey y'all, I'm your lawyer. Like she was serious, but it wasn't like when that came back later, I was like, what the heck? What? This is stupid. Also, where are the fun crimes? Because if we're children, child to 29, and why would there be a 17-year-old as a judge? Like, why wouldn't there be a 25-year-old as a judge? So I was thinking, I'm like, what are we actually doing? Is it just like wacky? Look at kids can have real jobs, or like, what is it? Because where are the fun crimes then? Where is, oh, you were blowing bubble gum and it got in this girl's hair, and she got to go to work, or like, where's the? I was like, this is weird, because now what other crimes are there? I wish there was another trial, like another defendant went up first, so we can kind of see. Because he was like, yeah, 30 days, but like, what? I don't know. That blew me. This is what really pissed me off. If you have this educational program thing, and it's some bullshit, okay, fine, and you just marketing whatever, I'm fine with that. But in this world, when you hit 30, you're useless. Why are you not making sure the 9 to 29-year-olds are properly educated? Like it feels like it's defeating the purpose. Because now if we have a bunch of, I'm just going to say, ignorant generations of children who are not smart and they don't learn as they get older, now you're going to have a reverse where now the young people aren't rebelling in the 80s. Now, eventually, you educated people who have aged out of this are now going to give pushback, which, hold on to that thread. If the education thing, what is the point? What is the point of Wade and everyone else going so hard for this when they're aging? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're getting closer to 30. Never once was it like, yeah, if we sell this, then I'm set for life. I don't have to be like those other old people. Like, it was never. So it was like, this is weird. This is like if I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a program where black people only eat fried chicken and they never go to school. Well, I'm black. What is that? What is the point of that? Or like old black people get shuttled into, I don't know, ghettos where they have to only eat ketchup. Well, I am also going to be an old black person. That didn't make any sense to me. I was like, y'all are actively aging as this episode progresses. So that also, why not teach if you hate old people? Because now you're going to be that. If they took away the age, the education thing would have been fine. If they took away the education thing, the age thing would have been fine. These two things don't work well with each other with the way it was presented. This was very bad. I didn't like this at all. Also, Quinn, and I get every world you want to bring your morals to it. Why the fuck are you arguing with these people when they have the timer? We've had other worlds where they didn't have the timer and you've annoyed me, but it's like, okay, yeah, you want to do the right thing. They have your way home. If you say give them soda and beer, I'm going to say give them double. I want to go home. What are we doing? Why are you arguing? This is stupid. You're dumb. You're stupid. Also, these bike cops, why didn't they whoop they ass? Them were 14-year-old boys. I would have beat the shit out of every last one of them. I'd have snatched them bikes and just curb stomped them damn children. These are kids. There's no one in a position of authority who is 27.
Yeah.
You could whoop their ass. Y'all had a knockdown, drag out fight in the courtroom. We know what you're capable of. Beat their ass. When you act like you get 30 and everybody loses their strength. Whoop their ass. That's all I got.
It kind of reminded me of, you remember Demolition Man?
Yeah.
That's what this future reminds me of, or the present day, because everybody's, except nobody's excessively nice, but they are, I don't know. There was something like naivety. That's what it is. It just like, because everybody kept getting their asses whooped by Rembrandt and the professor. And it just seemed like, it was easy. Like the way that they beat up the guard, they because they don't have any respect for older people. So I just think in this world, maybe when the Sliders left, if Rembrandt had given an "I Have a Dream" speech to old people, they would have taken this country back
by storm.
But yeah, so the next thing we got is back in the office. We're outside the office. Quinn walks out. I don't know if he's taking a minute or whatever, but he runs into the wife of the guy who, the scientist who apparently created edutainment or whatever it is, EduLearn, Melanie White, and she gives Quinn, excuse me, a subpoena, and she says that I know that Douche Wade masterminded my husband's murder. And Quinn says, "Can you prove this?" And she's like, "What?" And she says, "Of course, she's like, she says, yeah, once they're finished with, yeah, I will." And then she says, "But you better watch out. Once they're finished with you, Douche QR, they're going to kill you too." And which is what they did, apparently. So now you start thinking like, oh, was his body floating in the water because he was possibly murdered? We'll get to that. So, because the CSI of me, the way he's killed, doesn't make any sense. So we go back inside the office. The good executive who thinks that there's something up with Quinn, he tells Quinn like, "Hey, you're not acting like yourself." And he's like, "Hey, but you know what'll make you happy? Let's go scuba diving." And then Quinn is like, "Yeah, I love scuba diving." And then Douche Wade comes in, and once the guy walks out and says, "What did y'all talk about?" And then Quinn says, "We're going scuba diving. I have a new friend." And then Douche Wade says, "My Quinn, QR hated water. He didn't even take showers." Or some shit. So anyways, and she says, "I told you to keep your mouth shut." So anyways, but Quinn tells her about the murder accusation that she heard from Melanie White. Douche Wade says, like, forget about her and that dead guy. And she keeps trying to, seduce him. And he tells her, Quinn says, "Oh yeah, and I also did check with the governor's office. He's not supposed to be arriving until next week. So, this meeting that you're telling me about is whatever." So he's poking holes in her story. And he says that Douche Wade tells him, like, "Well, you need to continue to play this game for the timer." So anyways, we go to this dinner meeting that they apparently had to go to. Excuse me. They had a meeting that they had to go to. And Quinn tells Douche Wade to tell Gillette to release Wade from house arrest. And, Douche Wade is just like, "Hey, we can, have a good life," and all that, whatever. She's once again trying to, sweet talk him. And then he says, "The only thing we have in common is wishing the other person we're here with was someone else." And throughout the episode, there's a lot of bad music playing in the background. That's one thing I forgot to mention. Like, just like, what's the name of that show? Silk Stocking. It was on oh god, there was a show on Cinemax or Showtime, which was, anyways, it's just bad 80s 90s music like in the background. So we go to the streets and rock music starts playing on Skid Row. This reminded me of the part on
what's that?
Oh my god, when they the new 4400, when they had all of the
oh my god, that alley.
The alleyway, yeah, the alleyway with all the MAGA supporters who were living in the alleys. But anyways, but yeah, this, I don't know, because everybody over here is like older, right? So we see at the I'm sorry for saying it like this, the elderly shelter. Remy and the professor can't leave because of the curfew, and they're talking amongst themselves, eating, and that's about all I got for here. We go back to the mansion. Quinn gets Wade. He catches her up on everything and feels they need to prove that Douche Wade and the stupid duo, I'm assuming I was talking about Kyle and Gillette, killed the scientist. And as they're leaving and talking loud as hell, Gillette is just standing on the top banister watching them say all this, and he watches them leave. So It was a bit. So let's go for starting from Melanie popping up out of the darkness saying, "You killed my husband," to now. What are your thoughts?
Just beat her ass to everybody should have got their ass. First of all, get away from me. Like, get away from me. She's like, yeah, I just want to see your face when I subpoena you. But also, it's like, why are you like Quinn? As if you don't know who that is. And then, like, Quinn being shocked, sure. But she was just like I know she knew. It was weird. I didn't like the interaction. Quinn and Water. What's making me mad is this Quinn may not have liked Water, but our Quinn is not considering himself, because it wasn't like, oh, remember that first episode, the pilot, where they showed my canoe and my like they for her to be like Quinn didn't like Water. It was like, well, so what? Like, why is that introduced when this isn't going to pay off? I don't. The other part that got me, why do they keep showing their hand? Why am I telling Evil Wade I talked to the mayor and he's in Canada for 3 days? Use your brain. What do you? Okay, so I knew Queen in the Pool was murdered when the opening happened.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, clearly, like this strong, every white man could swim. Why he can't swim? Yeah, somebody clearly murdered him. But why are you telling the person who you're dependent on? Again, they have the timer.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? That conversation should have been for Rembrandt and the professor, or for R. Wade.
Yeah.
Why? Also, why are you at this damn? Okay, hold on, because I got some fucked up writing. Why are we at this dinner and there's no one else here? Did we just need another scene? Because I was waiting for an executive to come say, y'all on the phone with him. Why are we here? Oh, for that line, we just both want to be here looking at somebody. Who cares? Like, it's like he's doing stuff knowing that they have the timer, but then knowing they have the timer, he does the opposite of what he should be doing. So I don't know. This was weird. The old people shelter. Do you mean to tell me that old people all of a sudden become homeless? And when I say homeless, I mean like the image of a homeless person on the TV in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody still has their clothes from when they were 29. Nobody, like, it's weird because to me it kind of runs into a class thing and not an age thing. And they don't, because there's no well-dressed older people.
Yep.
But also, what would you possibly do to all of the, let's just say there's 100 people who are between 30 and 41. Are you kicking them out of their own houses? Like, and then also there's 100 people from 30 to 41. How many of them are teachers? And are they just allowed to come in and teach and then they're shuttled back to the shelter? Like, it was
weird.
It was very weird because also the hotel, why would children, or I guess, because what, I don't know. It was weird. Queen and Wade talk too damn much. Why am I telling you what I found while we're sneaking down the stairs in a house that is not ours? Could have bug devices anywhere. Yeah, Wade, man, I just found out that our evil doubles, man, they own some fuck shit. I think one of them killed somebody. It's like, what are we? They have no survival instinct, and it really pisses me off because there's no way, even after 19 plus slides, you haven't developed any bit of common sense.
Yeah.
Also, we in this house. Why don't we just find Gillette's room? He probably got the timer in there. I don't like this.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
I think for me, a lot of the points that you talk about where they don't seem to learn from episode to episode to episode, this seemed to be a culmination of that on a few levels.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why this is the one that kind of did me in. But we go back to the elderly shelter, and the defender shows up. Public defender shows up with the cop and says, and finds Remy and the professor, and the professor's like, "How did you find us?" And after he says something, he talks shit, and then he says, "How did you find us?" And she's like, "I've defended half the fossils here," and there's a cop with her, one cop. And I at this point I said I hate her, but whatever. She was not the worst part of this episode.
Right. Truly.
Yeah, and so Remy asks, so then this is where we got the C plot or whatever you want. He says, "Yo, can you look the other way? Like we leaving town, we're not trying to get caught up like Usher." And she says she doesn't want to. She's like, "I don't want to put my career at risk, And she says, I have to arrest you again." I'm like, "But you're the public defender," and so they are trying to. They're and then Remy starts trying to remind her. He's like, "Why did you start practicing law? Well, instead of shoving people through the system, didn't you want to do something better?" And then she's like, "I wanted to do corporate law and make money." And just, I was like, "Where is this coming from?" We don't care about her career. We don't. So anyway, so they get arrested again by this one cop and this public defender. So then we go to one of the things mentioned in previous scene with Quinn and Wade is that they were trying to get to a computer so Quinn could. I don't know why this isn't Wade doing this because they've already established that she's a computer expert. So they go to, I think it's the hotel, the Dominion Hotel, and Wade finds out that Remy and the professor still hadn't shown up. Quinn is on the computer in the Dominion Hotel, like the public computer. He pulls out an autopsy report about the scientist's death. And so when they're looking at it, they basically see that a lot of the drugs that were found in this scientist, body or his system that I guess he was accused of taking to help him commit or whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry, that sounds so
right. I don't.
Yeah, Wade says the drugs, and she says, "I think the drugs that I found in the bathroom are what they used to kill the scientists." And then Quinn is just like, "They wouldn't do that," and and whatever. At this point, that's that. So that's the smoking gun. So they get outside. They go to a car. I think it's Quinn's car, QR's car. And I forget where they're going, but Gillette comes. He pops up out of the back of the car. He says like, "I heard everything you said as y'all were walking out of the house," and he tells them to drive back to the mansion. So we get back to the mansion, and are they no? So I think this is the office. That's what it is. They're at the office. Kyle is talking ish about Quinn trying to find out what happened with the murder of the scientist. That I'm like, but what about QR? It's just like, so whatever. So then I guess apparently in between the time that they left the mansion last night and when they got to the hotel, they filmed a video, but basically Quinn plays a video of where Wade, dressed like douche Wade, is confessing to everything, and he says, "We're going to leak the video." And I'm like, "To who?" And then my question was like, "When did they film the video?" And Quinn says, "You better give us the timer." And then bad rock music plays, and he walks out of the office. And Quinn calls Wade, who I guess is back under house arrest.
Right.
So I guess Gillette drove them to the house and said, "Well, Quinn, you got to go to work the next day." And that's when Quinn was just like, "Well, we made this video in between the time that, the Blade caught us." I can't call him Gillette. The Blade caught us, and whatever. So then he calls Wade, and why are they letting Wade still pick up the phone is weird to me. But she says they slide in 3 hours. So. Let me get to the next scene there. So the court, because the ending is so batshit crazy, is whatever. So the court, they go back to the court. Now, I'll just call her Debbie Gibson. They're back in front of the judge. The professor, because he's like, "Well, I can't keep talking shit for the rest of my life. Let me just, plead guilty." And then Debbie Gibson shows up, and she says that She basically finds a way to get them off by saying that there wasn't a sign in front of the business that says that says like we don't serve elderly people or whatever or something like that. And I'm like, but isn't that still a form of discrimination that might be against the law? But I just said she shows up and does her damn job, gets the charges dropped, and apparently because we needed this, they have inspired her to do better. And I'm just like, okay, so everything up until from the defender getting them arrested to now her getting them free. What do we got? What do you, any thoughts?
How on earth does the professor and Rembrandt escaping jail affect her job? Why have we not? No. Let me tell you. It's always a woman's fault. But never mind this dumbass kid who got his ass beat by these two old men and shoved into an elevator with his Doug Funny vest. His job is fine. But this ain't even part of her job description. And now she's down here picking you up. They're not troubled youth. She's not a caseworker. What are we doing? And also, who told on them? Like, what is the point? Like, I ain't been half these undesirable crackheads in here. Is essentially what she sounds like. Ma'am, have some decorum. What are we doing?
Yes.
How is this affecting your job? Also, it's like 3 a.m. You're 17. Who woke you up to come down here? Quinn on a computer. We did not need this. Quinn and this blazer on the computer. We did not need this. This is where another part of the episode that falls apart for me because Gillette pops up with a gun. Okay. Why didn't y'all kill him? I don't understand. I don't think I would just be murdering people, but every time I slide. But yeah, right. Like if we can acknowledge the last episode with the lawsuit world, if we can acknowledge, hey, fuck this trial, I'm sliding in 2 minutes. Why can't we do this here? I'm going to murder you, put you in the back of this trunk. Nobody's looking for you in the next 2 days. Let's go. Like it was so weird. Like he had to, whatever. And then they were like very calm. This man had a gun. He had a fucking gun, and they were just like, oh, it's like the 90s where it's like, oh, mom's calling and we didn't take out the chicken. There's a gun by your head. I don't know. Okay, so much like you, I said, when did they film this video? And this is where it really falls apart because Gillette followed them. Where's your car, Gillette? Like, how did you get here? Did you face behind the car? What's that movie, that 90s movie where that man was like obsessed with a woman and she was married with kids? And he was like hiding under her car while they was driving.
Oh man,
I can't remember what.
I can't remember.
Lifetime, but I was like, is that how you got here? But also, I'm under the impression that Evil Wade sent you to follow them to kill them, but you didn't. Which okay, it's fine. But also, like Quinn went to work, like you said, Wade is back under house arrest. Did Evil Wade not be like, okay, you old ancient 32-year-old man, why didn't you kill these kids? Like, how did we? I know how we got here. I know what was offered to him, but it's like this made no sense. You have a gun. Your job is to kill them. Why did you let them shoot this video? And also, this is on the show. Why didn't you give Wade a different wig that would be like, oh, this is clearly not Evil Wade. This is clearly our Wade with a different wig. I was like, is that not? I thought it was her. For a second, I was like, why would she shoot this video? Oh, that's not her. What? So, I don't, whatever.
They should have given her a mohawk wig.
Something. Like outside her head shade or something. Like, also, Wade, where's your journal now? Like, you could have been writing this journal.
This would be the episode for that, right?
You would think. Court was dumb. I also feel like Rembrandt and the professor could have just whooped everybody's ass in there. Even the people who was waiting for their trial. Beat them up too. Like, because what are we doing? You already the biggest challenge in escaping jail was that we're in this city that we're not familiar with. Yeah. It was not getting out, because when they went down them stairs, like, where are they going? But they got out. This is so dumb. Homegirl coming in at the end with the like, oh no, actually, this is what it is. Sis, I don't care. You and this turtleneck can go, because you have not established. Like, the other thing that kind of pissed me off is, yes, this is why they should have had another trial right before theirs to show me what a good lawyer looks like somebody who is successful. I'm like, damn, she really is bad. She's just pretty. That's it. But no, this was fun, but this wasn't good.
Yeah.
This wasn't good.
Yeah.
I don't care about Tiffany. I don't care.
I had forgotten her name. I kept calling her Debbie Gibson. So we go back to the mansion. Douche Wade. So let me see if I remember this. Okay. So the scene before this, Quinn had apparently gotten the better of what was his name? Not Kenneth. Kyle, right? Mm-hmm. Kyle. So we're at the mansion, and Quinn, it says like, oh, here she comes, and he runs away like he's a little kid, like mom is showing up. And so he runs back to the office where his Wade is at, and douche Wade shows up, and she says, Kyle fired me over the video. And I'm just like, is Kyle an owner of the company? Like, can he do this? So anyway, so they so when she comes in, you know, she's upset, and apparently, and I gotta give this to Gillette, because they could not have found this video. So they find a video of the actual murder. So this is you see QR and Douche Wade arguing by the pool, and then QR turns around, and then Douche Wade comes back. She had left, and then she came back with like a candlestick or something, you know. Yeah, so like it was Miss Blue in the pool house with the candlestick, right? Yes. So knocks him out, and he died. So that was the point that I was making. Where was the blood in the pool? Like if he had a laceration or some shit on the back of his head, then he should have bled out. And then as soon as they saw the blood in the pool, they was like, oh shit, something happened, blunt force trauma, whatever. So for them showing, I mean, the only other option would have been her pushing him into the water, right, or holding his head under the water. But I just felt that was whatever. That was bad. So Douche Wade killed him. Gillette, they said, well, you can't prove. She's, you know, I think she keeps saying like, you can't prove anything. And then they're like, well, yes, we can. And then Gillette shows up and says, you know, well, I'm turning on you now because this is the best that a man can get. So he just says that they are going to, he's the new heir for QR's will. And he's just like, and he has a gun in his waistband. And so the thing that I do respect about this is that Douche Wade is just like, fuck it. So she goes to the dresser. She says, fuck it. She goes to the dresser, pulls out a gun, and just says, yeah. Everybody did it. And so she shoots Gillette. And in my mind, I was like, oh shit, Gillette is dead. That's not the best a man can get. And then so she's like, I'm killing all y'all motherfuckers. Yeah. So then Quinn goes for the gun. And I was like, this is going to be the second time that Quinn has gotten shot in the series. She kicks him in the face. I actually respect his She kicks him in the face. He drops the gun. And so he's knocked out from this like kick to the head. I guess a heel to the head is still going to knock you out no matter how small the person is. And then our Wade gets the gun and says, "I'll blah, 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 the same as you, yeah. And Douche Wade gets arrested. So we go outside and we see Douche Wade getting arrested. the Gillette being let out, he has so he wasn't killed. I guess when she was like spraying bullets all over the place, she shot him in the arm, and so he has a sling on. They put him in the ambulance, and the thing that I love is that the professor and Remy are hiding behind a bush out in front of the house, and they were looking at what's going on. They were like, they won't believe our story. And I think either Rembrandt or the professor says, "What the fuck? You see what's going on over there? Like, what happened to them?" So they show up, and the one thing I do like about this, like them kind of meeting up and said, "What happened to you? What happened to you?" Wade goes and hugs the professor. Like it's like it's a brief moment, but it's just like just to kind of show like we all been through some shit. Let's just go.
Yeah.
And so Wade is for some reason carrying this picture of QR and Douche Wade when they got married, and I think even the professor asked about the edutainment thing or whatever, and said, "We'll tell you about it in the next world." And she leaves the portrait behind. But even before that, there's this forced social commentary about the state of education when the professor and Quinn are talking, and then they all jump through the portal while this bad music plays, and then I think it does a close up on the picture of dead QR and incarcerated Douche Wade, and then it goes off. And I just wrote I hated this episode. Yeah, but that's how the episode ends. So
yeah, this was dumb. I respect Gillette. I think he was smart, and I'm going to assume it was Quinn. I'm going to be like, Quinn, you're smart too, because to offer him the will, but that also opens up another can of worms. Like, okay, is the will active when a person dies? Is it active when they get 30? Because if I'm 31 and I die, do my money go to like my youngest next of kin, like whoever was just born, like whatever? I don't.
It's a 1-year-old.
They're not going to answer any of that. But
2-year-old.
I respected Douche Wade so much.
Yes.
Because when she came in that door, in my mind, I was thinking Lynn Whitfield. And it's not that her acting was on that level, but when she came in, I was like, I could see Lynn Whitfield doing this shit. She came in like, what the fuck? You got me fired, motherfucker. Like, Gillette pissed me off because why didn't you confiscate this woman's gun? We're in the room that she has a gun. When she went in and got that gun, I hollered, I cackled, I hooted and hollered because, like, yes, y'all fucking up the house's money. I'm about to kill all of you. And her plan, she says, you kill. This is a murder-suicide. I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill myself, but it's really going to be her body. And then the way it was like, oh, wait, yeah, she is a murderer, so I need to get my shit together. I love that she was like, you motherfuckers is fucking up my shit. And that kick that she did to that man's face, that one kick was my favorite part of the whole episode. The way she was like, oh, because I'm a woman, you took my gun? You think that's all I got? I'm in heels and I'm kicking your ass. That was 3 grown people and she whooped their ass. They only got the upper hand because our way got the gun. But baby, I think she would have cleaned all them motherfuckers. I was so impressed with the way she handled herself. Even walking out the house in cuffs, she was just like, man, fuck y'all. Also, you whooped their ass. These are children who got you in cuffs. Beat their ass too. It's like, what? This was silly as shit. I do wish they would have kept a photo. Like, they left the wedding photo. Like, I know this show is not going to do a good job with the romance plot, no matter how much I want. But like, that would have been a nice, like, put that in your journal, Wade. Like, because I don't think they've ever taken anything from another world.
Shit, they should have taken some food. Like,
well, let's start there. But like,
rob these people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand. That's how you ended up in lawyer world when you can eat no damn food. And they could have taken the professor's book. What world was that where he was like the communist? What was he where he was like the second in command?
It was the monarchy world.
Yeah, like they could have taken all these little things, but whatever. If I wrote this, they would. I'm just really impressed with Evil Douche Wade because she killed it, literally. I also hate that they brought in Melanie, but it never paid off because
Yep.
yeah, your husband's dead, of course. Like, so what? Also, oh, they gave him all them stimulants. When Queen said they wouldn't do that, I wanted to put my fist through the computer. What do you mean they wouldn't do that? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're a dummy. I don't know. All of this was dumb, but much like you, I do like the idea that they had these two separate adventures that was just fucking all over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
And these two grown ass men hiding behind the tree, just like, ooh, well. And they didn't even know what time they were sliding. It's just like,
They just showed up.
oh god, this show is so fucking. This episode was so bad.
They could have showed up and nobody would have been there. I mean, if Quinn and Wade decided to just slide without them, but this would be a horrible world to live in. Like, yes. So, okay. So, who is your favorite and least favorite character from the episode?
Favorite, honestly, may have to be Douche Wade, only because what the Wade's the actress. At first, I wasn't really feeling Douche Wade, but from start to finish, it did feel like she was a separate person.
Yeah.
Nothing about, and it ain't just the hair. It's like the way she acted. I was like, okay, yeah, there's something nefarious about this white woman. Because we got so much screen time of them, I'm going to say her.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with her as my favorite. Because she was just fun. She was fun and it was something different for Wade. Least favorite, I think saying Quinn would be too obvious. Least favorite, I would probably have to say the judge, because I do feel like out of all of the kids who were in positions of authority, his depiction was so odd compared to like the serious lawyer who wants to be taken seriously, and then like the serious bike security guards who are like, yeah, you motherfuckers, get back to curfew. And then even the guy who got beat up, who was the cop, it's like everybody seemed to have actually taken their job seriously. He didn't. And I'm like, but you're in the same world where this scientist was murdered and his wife is like, how is she the one giving out subpoenas? But okay. So I'd probably have to say him, because even though other people annoyed me, I do feel like they played their role. I'm gonna say the judge. He's my least favorite. Not a fan.
So I think favorite for me, I'm just going piggyback, Douche Wade. I enjoyed her, and once again, like back to back, we've asked for episodes where we got doubles of a chance for, Clavant Derricks and Sabrina Lloyd to play their doubles, so we got that back to back, for the past few episodes. So, and she did good. She was an asshole. She let them bullets fly, and that was excellent. As far as least favorite, I have to go with Kyle. I think that the acting in this episode was like weird.
Yeah, very.
It wasn't good for like some of the for the younger actors, which is weird. Like, I don't want to just say like young actors, but I think because they had them playing, everybody was a douche in this. Like, every young person was an asshole, and I don't think that they were playing it well, because even the actress that plays Wade, I think she is obviously older than just like what they were shooting for, so she was more mature than, but Kyle especially, because I couldn't take him threatening. Like, we should have seen him get knocked out, but Kyle was the worst. So as far as favorite and least favorite part or scene from the episode,
that one is kind of hard. I want to say my favorite is probably the shenanigans with Professor and Remy, but I want to find a specific scene because it may have been when they were woken up out of their sleep at the shelter. Because I'm thinking like, they beat this kid's ass and they walked away like that. Okay, sure, but it's also like we're in a shelter. Old
Right.
people are not respected. Like what why are you here? Like it your judicial system is very weird. Ours is weird, but this is very weird because what's the point? Like I'm already in a shelter. You're just gonna lock me up for 30 days? And then what? Like it was weird. I was like, what is the point? Is it just to say you did it? Like none, and then none of the young people who got beat up were there. Like, yeah, we demand they get
justice.
It was like this is
Yeah.
something fun that we do. So I think that scene of them like, girl, it's 4 a.m. What are you doing? And then remember being like, what did you get into this for? It's like she's 14.
Yep.
Like that was such a ridiculous, like that scene on its own, you'd probably be like, oh, okay, maybe it's like a Doogie Howser thing. But like in the context of the whole episode, this is dumb, lady. We got away. Leave us alone. We're just gonna end up on the street in 30 days. Like you're delaying the inevitable. So that's probably my favorite because it's just so dumb.
It's your favorite scene because it was so dumb.
Because I want to say least favorite because I really love kicking them in the face, but I think it's my favorite because one, they went on all these hijinks in the span of a day, and it was like we're running from children. We're not even running from 25-year-old men. These are children. So that would have to be my favorite because it's just so absurd. And then my least favorite, probably, if I'm being honest, the scene where they had the board meeting for that first scene, it was like, yeah, if you get 2 more wrong, you get a whatever the hell the candy was. I was like, you're not even taking this seriously yourself.
Yeah.
Why is this scene here? And if the learn thing is already like in motion, shouldn't this have already been done? And I was thinking like, okay, let's say they never slid here. What were you going to say when the other queen was dead? Like what? It felt so weird, and that only amplified that this shit don't matter. Why is this here? So I'm gonna have to say that specific part of that scene, my least favorite.
So I think my favorite, it might be I really want to say the first scene where Remy and the professor were just whooping ass, but I think I'm gonna go to when Doucheway let them bullets fly. Like that when she went for the gun, once again, that was another moment that I forgot about. And I was like, oh shit, this is escalating. And in my mind, I'm like, the one person in the scene who doesn't matter is probably about to get it. And he got shot. So and she was a good shot. That was my favorite moment. And my least favorite moment, it might have to be oh god, I was gonna say the court scene only because of the judge, but I think just the party scene.
Oh yeah.
Because, the party scene, because it was all these characters that we say this before. We've had episodes where the co-stars or the guest stars bring it. They do really well, and they matter for the story. And for some reason, Kyle didn't matter. No. The mistress didn't matter
at all.
The good executive didn't matter. And I think because that the storyline that they were a part of, or that aspect of it, just didn't matter. So I think, and then also just, outside of the good executive, like 95% of the people who are there are just assholes. So it's just that, because I think that scene was just supposed to be more of a representation of how young people act in this world. And it just seemed excessive. It just seemed pointless, or it just wasn't done well. So that's my least favorite. So out of how many edutainment CD-ROM drives or CD-ROMs are you going to rate this episode?
6.
Gotcha. Yeah, 6. I am giving I'm giving it a 5.
I know that's right.
Yeah, I was about to say 5.5, but now I'm giving it a 5.
This is
dumb. But yeah, this was an episode. So we intrepid viewers and listeners, we have 2 more episodes after this. And
it better be good or I'm cussing.
I will tell you that vibe wise, as far as this ain't a spoiler, it goes up from here.
Okay, good.
So
this shit, ugh.
Yeah. We had Greatfellas wasn't horrible, but it was like middle of the road. But like we had Greatfellas, and then it just kind of went.
Yeah, no, this is worse. This makes Greatfellas look great, fella. It's just so many. I actually completely forgot about that party scene, and I'll tell you another reason why that scene fucking sucks. Remember the End of the World episode where Rembrandt went to that like adult sex party? Whatever. That party was better than this, and it was like the same party, but that party was better than. I'm like, man, this sucks.
I mean, the old ass people at the end of the world knew how to get down with that bland ass repetitious music beat until they were like, let's buy the rights to Honey Pie Sugar Bunch, right? And have the black guy sing it.
Yeah, that was terrible. But yeah, that
weird ass sex party.
Oh god, this was yeah. I mean, this is. I mean, it wasn't good.
No,
it
wasn't good. I checked the writing credit for the dude who did this. This was the only one he did.
I see why they said.
They said,
out of here.
He said, "Get out of here." And I don't want to take nothing away from that dude, but. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, oh shit, this is the only one. Well, hey.
Yeah, not good. It was just too much going on. He should have scaled back on 1 or 2 plot lines. Yeah, terrible. Oh well, screw that guy. Do you have any like final thoughts? Anything like that?
No final thoughts. We just go up from here. That's the hope, right?
There we go. Yes.
That's the hope. And we are close to the end of the journey for this season. So so that's big. But no, any last thoughts and final thoughts from you?
Shout out to Wade's wig. Shout out to that Emma Frost ass outfit she wore at the end.
From the Generation X TV movie.
Specific, and that's what I was thinking too, like that very specific 90s damn movie, pilot movie. Shout out to her.
You should just flash her face and flash up that outfit.
Honestly, the whole fucking her, and then Gillette is pretty much Sean Cassidy. This is a alternate, what is it, Earth, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. Where the X-Men and Generation X were real, but yeah, I enjoyed being in the world. I enjoyed the editing with the doubles. I enjoyed that this was Sliders. It just was not good. That's all I got. Yeah.
So, fun fact, I can tell you that much. Apparently, from the credits, it says that the body double for Quinn was his brother.
I could see that.
Yeah, it was Charlie O'Connell, and he was listed as Quinn 2, but he was uncredited. So,
that sucks.
So,
well, yeah, good for him. I like that. I like when people they can use their siblings, because this is a little depressing, but homeboy from Fast and the Furious who died, didn't they use his brother with CGI to finish the movie?
Paul Walker,
Paul Walker, and I think I mentioned on this show where Laverne Cox's twin brother played her pre-transitioning in Orange Is the New Black.
Oh, wow.
That's when I discovered she had a twin. I didn't know that she even had a twin.
Wow,
but
I didn't know.
Okay. And there's a couple other people, I don't know, but shout out to Charlie. I'll say he's my honorary favorite character.
There you go.
He didn't speak and was still better than Quinn. He's a kind of handsome 80s type of like, well, no, well, I'll stop that. Leave that there. Shout out to you, Charlie. So I don't know where do you where can these people find you? I was like, ooh, I went a little too far in those pictures. He is a guy. I'll say that. Oh God, yeah, he looks like.
Oh man,
he bites. I don't know.
You can find me at www.robertkjeffrey.com. That's robertkjeffrey.com. I'm just thinking about the Sliders fandom.
Oh, don't bite my head off like Charlie O'Connell, y'all. He's a good guy.
But and then Instagram, robertk.jeffrey. That's robertk.jeffrey. And yeah, two best places to find me.
Good deal. You guys can find me here, Carefree Black Nerd. Check the feed and social media. Just search Carefree Black Nerd. You're bound to find me somewhere. I'll be on there sometimes. I'm Bluesky. I'm trying Threads. I don't know, y'all. My time is split. But also, if you are a romance reader, you can check out raincoleman.com and you can see my book, Loving Ashley, which has premiered last week, and enjoy that. Yes, please enjoy that. Go ahead and order and share and like and read and leave some reviews. Yeah, man, this was good talking to you.
Yep, this is good talking to you.
Yeah, this is going in the trash. So yeah, I don't know, y'all. Thank you for listening. Use that hashtag STTMPod. Let us know what your thoughts are. Find us on those social medias. Follow Robert, support him and his work, and do the same for me. If you don't, whatever. But Robert, follow him.
No, do the same for Rain. Do the same for Rain.
No, yeah, do that. Do it for me too. Yes, do it like it's your B-Day. Speaking of, when this comes out, my birthday would have been the day before, so y'all tell me happy birthday, damn it. And until next time, stay carefree, nerdy, geeky, and if you slide to a world where your double has committed a murder, just kill them and leave, or go hide. Like, what are we doing? Just go hide. Go hide. Shit. That's it.
You see a body, just run.
That, even if it's yours, go.
This isn't Boys in the Hood. Hey, y'all want to see a body? Like, no, I don't.
No. Also, go find your mom. I don't see me.
Yeah,
I was a mama's boy. My mother passed. And everywhere I slide to, I'm looking for my mama. She could be a tyrant. She could be in prison. She could be a homemaker. She could be a murderer. I'm gonna find my mama. That's just me. But all right, y'all. Oh shit.